you're from DC or you love DC, this one's for you. Welcome to the People's Voice DC, a podcast where the city speaks for itself. Not just politics, not just headlines. We're talking real life, community life, DC life. From the metro rides to the murals on the walls, from classrooms to corner stores, from church basements to community meetings. This is where conversations actually happen. We talk about what matters: housing and money, mental health and healing, culture, music and creativity, faith, purpose, and finding your way, relationships, parenting, and growing up in the city. Yeah, we talk politics too, but only because policies affect our everyday lives. This show is presented by Rising Voices of Politics and founded by Reverend Michael Campbell with one goal in mind: give the people the mic. And when we say the people, we mean everybody. Young folks with big ideas, creatives with something to say, parents holding it down, leaders in the making, and anyone who's ever felt like their voice didn't matter. Trust, it does. No fake debates. No talking down, no boring energy, just real conversations, good vibes and perspectives that feel like home. Catch us live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and social media by searching The People's Voice, DC, or Rising Voices of Politics. Miss the live show? It drops the same night at risingvoicesdc.org, and you can listen anytime on Spotify. So whether you're on your phone, in the car, in the dorm, or just trying to feel connected, tap in, tune in, and be part of something bigger. This is The People's Voice, DC, the city, the culture, the conversation. And yeah, the people got something to say.
Welcome to this week's edition of The People's Voice DC. Listen, I just first want to start off with thanking all of our supporters. Like, you guys have been totally amazing. We couldn't keep going without you. Like, donations, without me even mentioning donations, you guys are scanning the code, you're donating. Like, I truly appreciate you. But let's keep going. This week we have my brother, Elder-elect Khalik Barnes. I actually just went and I actually just witnessed him preach a dynamic word on Sunday. It was totally amazing. So I definitely got to get back and see my brother speak the word of God. But this is a Bible study today. This is the People's Voice DC. We might have to get him back for Bible study when I do my Bible study podcast. But today we're going to talk a little bit about growing your brand. We're going to talk a little bit about expanding your digital marketing skills. We're going to talk about even dive into some DC politics and hear the voices of our youth, starting with Khalik Barnes today. So without further ado, I want to start off, before we bring them on board, by honoring, this is still Women's History Month, and I just want to honor some of our beautiful Black women in history.
Top 10. Black women changed history forever. Meet the famous females who defied the odds, pushed boundaries, and paved the way for future generations. Kamala Harris, the first female vice president and first nominee Black women candidate for president. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first Black woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In April 2022, Ketanji Brown Jackson made history as the first Black woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Oprah Winfrey, the first Black woman billionaire. Oprah Winfrey, after founding her own production company and television network, Winfrey would go on to become the first Black woman billionaire in the U.S. Mae Jemison, the first Black woman in space. On September 12, 1992, Jemison boarded the space shuttle Endeavour. Laverne Cox, the first transgender woman to be nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award, the first transgender woman to appear on the cover of Time magazine. Wangari Maathai, the first Black African woman to receive a Nobel Peace Prize for her efforts in environmental conservation. Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to be elected to the United States Congress. Shirley Chisholm became known the first Black woman to be elected to the United States Congress in 1968. Bessie Coleman, The first black woman plane pilot, one in 1920. Harriet Tubman, the first black woman anti-slavery activist. Harriet Tubman is best known for her efforts to move slaves to liberation. Elizabeth Freeman, the first female slave set free under the state constitution after she sued for her freedom in 1781.
Welcome, Brother Khalid. How are you?
Man, I'm good. How are you, boss?
Doing pretty good. Listen, welcome to the show, man. We've been trying for a minute. We finally was able to get the schedules down, get you on board. I definitely appreciate you coming on board. Thank you, sir. How you feeling today? Tell us, man, where you at? Where you at today?
So as of now, I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia, at the illustrious Morehouse College.
Morehouse.
Yes, sir. Here for education. Currently a political science major in my first year. So we're definitely here trying to continue to build that mark, create a mark, build that legacy here, and continue to support those from Atlanta, but support those who are in DC as well.
DC, stand up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, man, just introduce yourself, man, to the people who don't know you. I know you pretty popular these days. What I'm saying, that's my bad. That's all I can say. Like, I'm proud to be able to say that. I'm glad that I know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just tell us your story, man. What got you started and who you are? What molded you? What contributed to the man you are today?
Yes, sir. So for those who do not know me, I am Khalik, as you stated already. I'm a youth leader, a creative, and a founder of 2 organizations. Everything I do, I would say, is centered solely around empowering our young people within DC, building leaders and creating impact through ministry, media, and community work, right? So I'm grateful for that, God being able to instill within me these different gifts to where I can, support and take initiative to, do different things. So I'm originally from Washington, D.C., Southeast, specifically Ward 8. Grew up right on 6th Street Southeast. And as a result, seeing what I saw there, from poverty to, crime rates going high, drug infestation, all of those different activities, it prompted me to, want to be different, want to do something different, and to support my other leaders, my other young people to also, make a decision that is different. And so, as a result, man, we founded various organizations. We founded Lead DC Youth Empower, which ultimately is a youth hub, a youth outlet for young people to come share their voice, have a platform, go on events and everything like that. But then also I decided to tap into a creative aspect of it, where I decided to do Barnes Digital Design and Media, to where we assist young people who want to start their businesses, to help them understand what marketing is, to help them understand how to put themselves up as a personal brand, right? Or we just tied that from ministry to business to politics together with only one mission in mind, and that mission is to simply serve God's people. And I would say we do that eloquently, and we do that by His grace.
Man, that sounds good. So, like, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is I hear you encourage this, and I hear you talk about it a lot. Is growing your brand. That's something that I have been really big on, especially when it comes to empowering our youth, empowering just our people in general. We don't understand like how much we can do if we just grow our brand, and not just grow our brand, any old way, but learn the proper steps, the ways to properly grow your brand and solidify prayerfully a residual income after a while. That's what we're after. And so, I want to show your flyer, using creativity to cast vision. Grow your brand. Struggling with branding and market. Maybe you don't have time to post. Struggling with graphics executive. Contact us. So, man, talk to us a little bit about growing your brand.
Why not? So I would say ultimately, when it comes down to, growing your brand is really about clarity. Growing your brand is really about consistency. And then also it's about connection, right? And so at the core of all of these, you got to focus on your clarity, right? You got to know who you are. You got to know what you do. You got to know who you're speaking to. Me with Barnes Digital Design and Media, and even with the various other things, I knew that my target audience is young people, those who look like me, those who are in the same uh, cohort as me, right? And
Yeah.
so as a result, I'm able to connect with them. I'm able to relate with them, and I know my identity and know what I'm doing. And then the second part of that is then consistency. You have to be willing to show up regularly. You have to, not only when you feel like it, not only when it's good things, bad things, not only, when things are up there in the sky, but a lot of people, what they tend to do is when they don't see the vision that they initially aspired or saw before come to fruition immediately, they forfeit and they give it all away, right? But
Hmm.
he says, despite what it looks like as of now, despite how many events I may be hosting and people may not show up, despite how many times I post on social media and I may not get the clicks and the likes and the follows and the subscribers that I'm looking for, at the end of the day, if I'm consistent and I continue to do what I do, eventually something will come forth. And then lastly, to that point, is connection and people, right? Actually engaging with you and trusting you and buying into what you're building. You got to ensure that whatever you're doing or building can connect with someone, right? And I think where a lot of people miss, especially youth, is they skip the strategy. You post it, but ultimately there won't be no system behind it. There's no plan, there's no funnel, there's no direction. So what I try to do through my work is help people not just look good online, but I want to actually convert attention into impact, which eventually will turn into income. And so what we do at our organization is we'll create the graphics for you. We'll create the flyers and the logos for you. But not only will we create that, we'll create something so appealing to where you will have a pipeline where people who see the flyer has no choice but to click your website and then possibly click follow or buy. Um, so yeah.
I love it. It's actually what I do a lot of times, but I love it, man. So many of our people need that. I heard three things when you talked when you just spoke. I heard you talk about knowing your audience. It's how important it is to have your target audience and know that we're not just we're not trying to. You can't reach everybody from here to Africa, all ages. It's a beautiful dream. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's impossible, but we got to start off somewhere, and it's important to know your target audience and everything that you do when you start. The second thing you talked about was very important. You talked about consistency, man. Listen, as someone who does podcasts, as someone who have services at times when I don't have my church anymore, but I still do put on services. Listen, it might be 2 or 3 people that tune in. It might be 4 or 5 people that only come to the service, and you're like, man, I didn't pay money for this rent, and I expected at least 10 people to show up in the building, but you have to be consistent. You have to um um be able to grasp your vision and not allow anything to take you away from that vision. And I think purposely, personally, my word, the thing that I love to focus on is purpose. When you know your purpose, when you know your why, it's easier to be consistent. Do you agree with that?
I wholeheartedly agree when it comes down to knowing purpose. And then at the same time, I would challenge it as well. Um, when you know your purpose, you also know, like, once again, as you said, you know why you're doing what you're doing and things like that. Because your purpose is ultimately what sustains it. Because when you don't know your why, you'll quit when it gets inconvenient. You'll quit when it's not looking how you want it to look. But when you're rooted in your purpose, you'll keep showing up even when nobody is watching. And I love what you said about those 2 or 3 people showing up, because a lot of people underestimate small beginnings. But if you can be faithful with 3, then you'll be ready for 300 or 3,000. If you can show up when it's quiet or silent, you'll be prepared to, speak out when it's loud, right? And so
Right.
that ties directly into branding, because consistency builds your trust. Because people don't follow what's perfect; they follow what is consistent. Over time, that
Mm.
consistency turns into credibility, and that credibility turns into opportunity. So yeah, purpose gives you direction, but consistency ultimately is what gives you those results that you're looking for. And then once again, once you combine all of those, the purpose, you combine consistency, you combine, your strategy, that's when things really start to grow. But then also we have to question, is my purpose, what is my purpose actually rooted in? Because
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The way I found my purpose was through my hardship, was through my difficulty, was through my pain. I didn't find my purpose because one day I woke up randomly and I said, "This is what I want to do." My purpose was birthed through a painful cycle. It was birthed through uncertainty. It was birthed through difficulty. It was birthed in the process of me dealing with many different things, right? And so as a result, I found out, you know what, I'm going through this, but God delivered me from this. I can help somebody else get out of this. That's my purpose.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And the last thing you talked about, because I did say three. The last thing was the connectivity. That is huge. A lot of us sometimes we have the vision, we have the skill set, we have the know-how, we have that fire and that engine to keep us consistent. But we just don't know what to say to people, how to introduce ourselves, sometimes even how to present ourselves. Like, what should I wear? I know a lot of times I get kind of nervous because I'm like, I got these dreads, God. I'm like, I know somebody gonna look at me and like, what this little like, he don't know nothing. He a little dude from Southeast with some dreads, and and so that connectivity sometimes is huge. And I can tell you, like, I know there are opportunities that I missed out on because I may have been maybe trying to think of the correct word, but I just didn't have the confidence in the settings that I was in to be able to connect to the audience that I was with. And I'm like, these people not going to listen to me. It's one thing to connect with your friends about what you're doing and connect with your family about what you're doing and connect with your neighbors about what you're doing. But when you branch out there and you're in it, and you're in the midst of actual people who can invest in your brand and invest in your product, you're in the midst of people who not only will invest, but who may actually spend good money, just on what you're doing because they believe in what you're doing. But you sometimes don't even know how to connect or speak up to that person. So tell us a little bit about that and some things you recommend.
Yeah, man. As far as that, especially walking into a room that you have to branch out on, and I appreciate you for being real because a lot of people deal with that but don't say it. And I think connection really comes down to your confidence. I mean, but not confidence in how you look. I'm saying confidence in what you carry, not how you look, but what you carry. Because the truth is not about the dreads. It's not about what I look like. It's not about the jeans. It's not about the sweatpants. Whatever I may be wearing. It's not about the outfit, but instead it's about the presence. Right? People can feel when you believe in what you're saying, and they can feel when you don't. Right? So when it comes down to connecting in those rooms, I tell three things: be clear, be confident, and be genuine. Know what you want. Know what you want. Know what you want to do in one sentence, right? Know what you do in one sentence. Even if you're nervous, even if you feel, anxious, still walk in there. And I did this plenty of times because once again, I'm a young person from DC, from Southeast. So there were plenty of times, Pastor, where I had to literally walk into these different spaces with Black Swan Academy and these big time organizations, who are here for the young people, and me on Southeast going to see some young people from up Northwest and things of that nature. And I walk in and I'm like, Jesus, I may not fit in. I may not, things of that nature, but I walk in as if I own the room. I'm walking as if everywhere I go, people know my name. And I'm being, I'm not saying this, I'm not about to say this in a cocky way, but every place I go, some reason, somebody knows my name. And so I walk, but guess what? I never know that. I don't, and the thing about is this, I never know who they are. I never know what they remember what they look like. I don't know their name or anything. But every time I go in a room, somewhere, somehow, somebody knows, aren't you that young preacher? Didn't you speak here? Ain't you the one who hosted this event? Like some way, somehow, somebody knows me. So I walk in a way that is as if everybody who's around me knows who I am. they respect who I am, and I let the work that I do speak for me. So I'm confident, even though I'm nervous. I walk into I had the opportunity to serve as the student representative for DC State Board of Education, and I walked in and I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know Dr. Jock Patterson. I didn't know. I knew of Ebony Toes Thompson before she came out of school, but on a personal level, I never knew any of them, and I didn't know how to operate. But they all knew my name, right? So I was genuine because authenticity connects faster than my perfection. I didn't act as if I was somebody I'm not. I just acted in the confidence that I knew who I was. I knew what I can do, and I'm gonna act like what I know how to do. So that's how I carry myself, right? And so the room that you're talking about, when people, where people can invest or open doors, they're looking for people who are clear, consistent, and credible. And sometimes the only difference between you and the opportunity is you're introducing yourself. Your environment doesn't validate your value. You walk in knowing your value.
I like that.
Yeah, connection it isn't about who you are, but it's about being so clear in who you are that the right people connects to you.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So, just moving right along, man. Right here, you have your digital services for you. So, I see that you're encouraging others to build their brand. But what I love about it is that while you're doing so, you're still building your brand. And so that is something that I wanted to highlight, that is highly possible. Because for some reason, our people, and it's not just our people, I got to stop saying that, but people in general, we feel like if we building our brand, then we can't help nobody. We can't let nobody get to our level. We can't get them something that we know to help benefit them. Like, listen, while I'm helping you, I'm also helping me. And eventually what we're doing is we're helping one another. And it is very possible that 2 people, that 3 people, that an entire community, that an entire city can build their brands while helping others build their brands, and we can all thrive together. We're not all doing the same thing. Everybody's offering something different. So, all of us ain't out here like, look, I make the best chicken in DC. Come buy my chicken. Listen, if you do make the best chicken in DC and you know about me, please holler at me and let me taste test, give me a plate, something. But I'm just saying, we all not doing the same thing. So, bro, let's just all help each other while we're helping ourselves, man. That's an important message that I wanted you to hit on.
Sure. You make a totally valid point, because a lot of people be gatekeeping. And that's real, because that mindset right there is definitely how we grow. I think a lot of people operate from we operate from a selfish mindset. Like, if I help you, I lose. But in reality, when I help you win, I expand the room for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, we're not doing the same thing. Even if we're in the same space or, the same room, we bring different perspectives. We have different experiences. We bring different creativity. So me helping you doesn't take away from me. It actually strengthens my brand. If I'm being completely honest with you, that's why I have no issue whatsoever, help somebody else along the way, giving them the tools and the knowledge, because ultimately, that person may, how you learn this, how you learn, you don't have the knowledge I have.
Right.
You don't have this, so I can help you build this. Or Khalik, man, he showed me how to set up some ads for my Instagram and TikTok, and and ultimately people gonna start coming to me and wanting to pay me to so like that. So that's really how I move with my work. As I'm helping people build their brands, I'm also building mine, because now my impact is growing, right? My network is growing and my credibility is growing. And when you get a group of people doing that, now it's not just individuals growing, but it's an ecosystem. There it is. It's a community of people who are building, who are supporting, who are circulating opportunity. Collaboration will often take you places that competition never will, right? And so oftentimes what we do, especially as people in our community, we want to gatekeep different ways. We want to gatekeep different methods when there are various ways, number one, but then also there are various people who are, trying to just simply get a way of living, right? And so you don't have to gatekeep. We can go together. We can build together. We can, get the bag together, yet still win at the same time. And if somebody really got the best chicken in DC, I want to tap into.
Nah, for real. I know a few people that be cooking that chicken. I'm trying to tell you, listen, grandma moved to North Carolina. I've been struggling ever since then. But listen, really quickly, before we move any further, my man Evan Allen, also a Morehouse guy, is always making sure that I make sure to talk about our Juneteenth parade on June 19th in Ward 7. We'll start gathering at 9 a.m. and the parade start time is scheduled for 11. Now, I know how we do. We want to be on time. Okay? We want to be on time. It's going to be June 19th. It's going to be fresh off the elections. And I anticipate it's probably going to be a good day for probably the first time in a long time. We probably going to have, some good 80s, mid 80s weather that day. So I'm looking forward to June because it feels like summertime and springtime want to get hit, but winter just don't want to let loose. So in the words of Bishop Jake Style, I loose. We trying to get to some warm weather. And not just warm weather for 1 or 2 days. We want some consistent, hallelujah, there go that word again. We want some consistent warm weather in DC. We don't want it to bring no tornadoes with it. We don't want it to bring no rain with it. We just want, a little mist, a little shower here and there to keep things where it need to be. But we want like a good 2-3 weeks of some consistent, nice, let's hang outside weather. We deserve it. Listen, it's been a year in DC. Already. It's only March, but it's been a year in DC. Let loose, winter. All right, let's keep going. So you talk about your graphic design and your editing. I just want to highlight to people everything you do, content development and photography and videography. If you need help in those areas while you're building your brand, please make sure that you reach out to my guy, Khalid. I might have to reach out to you, bro. I consider myself a graphic designer. Everybody knows me. I do the websites, the flyers, all that kind of stuff. But I feel a little old. TikTok can kind of change the game for me. These people are doing all kinds of stuff on these videos, and I'm like, look, now I know I'm like that, but I can't figure out how they getting these videos going. I was hollering at my sister. She was like, "Yeah, use CapCut." I'm like, "Listen, bro, it's a new day. Like I'm getting behind. I need a whole crash course just to keep up on TikTok. Like I'm good on Facebook, the TikTok and IG. They didn't change the game with these reels and these different, the words bouncing. And I'm like, look, I know how to put the words on the screen, bro, but." Things have changed, and to make, even if you get into the political world, like folks when they campaigning, they got nice videos. I'm like, man, I gotta learn something. I gotta take me a crash course.
Yeah, it ultimately, like the game, like you said, the game definitely is changing. The flyers and the posts and even websites, they're still important, but content itself, man, that especially if short form content like TikToks and the reels, because it's just a new skill set. It's not that you can't do it, but you just haven't been shown how to yet for real. So pretty much what I tell people, you always got to get a hook. You get the value and the retention, right? The hook is how because people, what they do, they sit on their phone all day and they just scrolling, right? So if I sit up here and I'm on Facebook and I'm just scrolling, if I see something that don't catch my attention, I'm gonna keep going. So if you get something that, like, for example, if a video flashing in their face automatically, oh wait, what is this? Your brain, like, that's a psychological thing. Your brain automatically gonna like, We want to know what it is. If they see colorful, like your background right now, right there. If I'm scrolling and I see that, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of colors. Cool. What's up? I look at it for real, because it's like it's a lot of colors. So it's a strategy, man. It's a strategy.
Hey, I'm definitely gonna be reaching out to you. You had to sit down with me one day, bro. I'll buy you some chicken. You had to sit down with me one day, bro, and show me some things. I would appreciate it. But we're going to take a break. We're going to watch a clip of you really quickly, and then we'll get back to talk about another one of your endeavors, should I say.
Situation that used to break me. That's when I knew God installed a new feature in me. Peace. Trust in Him with all your heart. With all thine heart, if you want to go biblical, KJV. You know the rest. You can't go anywhere in life without growing wiser.
That's right.
Wisdom is a key to your life. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The streets wasn't made for everybody. That's why they made sidewalks.
And I'm glad you said that, because first of all, what I want to definitely target is, what does it look like when someone is stuck on these old habits and stuck on these toxic thinking or cycles that continues to crash their growth? I can tell you that we oftentimes see a lot of negativity, right? We see a lot of procrastination. We see a lot of insecurity. And oftentimes we see a lot of unforgiveness, because why? You're still holding on to old baggage. Instead of being willing to say, you know what, God, I believe you're having something in store for me that's new. And not only that you're still holding on to it, it's that you don't want to update because you're still comfortable with the thing you got. It's what you're familiar with. It's what you're used to. It's something that you don't have to compromise or sacrifice anything for it. Because if you realize there are some features that is going to be left behind in the iOS. I don't know what iOS. Can somebody tell me what iOS we in right now? I don't know what it is. Let me look at my
Look it up.
My MacBook right now on, I don't know. Listen, whatever. But it's on a different iOS, right? The iOS 18 gonna be totally different from the iOS 21.
It is.
And there's gonna be some new features. I realize when I update my phone, I don't got some emojis. I don't got some control set of features. Why? Because it's no longer needed. It's no longer necessary, because something was upgraded and there was a new feature added that could replace what the old feature couldn't do. And there are some things in your life that's gonna be replaced what the other person couldn't do. There's gonna be some people who's gonna be replaced in your life. Jesus, my bad.
You talking about?
There's going to be some people that may get replaced. Why? Because I may find someone or something that can do what you could not do for me. That's why you got to be willing to let it go and step up to a high. Come on up a little bit. Listen.
Wow.
Here we go. Y'all was getting deep there for a minute, bro. Y'all was diving in. Like, first of all, I do want to clarify for the viewers. iOS stands for iPhone Operating System. iPhone Operating System. That's what iOS stands for. But my man, listen. Sometimes it can be something simple, but you think about it, you like, hey, that's true. Like, hey, everybody can't be in the street. That's why they got sidewalks. I'm like, hey. My man, hey, that is, I believe, the Youth Recharge. Am I correct?
Youth Recharge Chronicles, yes, sir.
Man, I think I got the flyer right here. Yeah, here we go. Youth Recharge Encounter. Man, people, y'all got to tune in. Y'all have got to tune in, because they going in, man. So tell us what got you started on the podcast. What gave you the vision for it? How did it come about, man? And what is it all about? And why should people tune in?
Of course, man. Youth Recharge Chronicles pretty much is a platform, once again, for youth who want to share their voices. At first, I always wanted to I love talking, all right? And so as a result, I wanted to create a platform to where not only can I talk, but I can have young people who have something to say, who don't have the platform to say it, and just let them have a place to talk. Right. So Youth Recharge Chronicles, at first it was, I had the vision. I got the vision in 2022, but I didn't execute it until 2024 or four, I think four though. Um, so I got the vision. I'm just sitting here, and I remember we had a lot of going on. 2022, we had the gun violence, the different issues, people getting killed left and right, and people I was close to, and so I wanted to do something that can possibly include youth voices. I was going to do a revival, but from the preacher perspective. But I thought about it and I sat with that for a minute, and I realized that young people aren't dead. They don't need nobody to revive them because they never died. Right? They're simply low on energy and they're running on empty. So what can be something that replaced? So at first it was Voices Amplified Youth Chronicles, but I didn't like that. Then it was Youth Revival Chronicles, but then I turned it to Youth Recharge Chronicles because they need to be recharged. They need somebody. And when you think of anything, and I broke this before in my first episode, when you think of something that needs to be revived, you think of something that needs an entire new replacement, a new battery, a new entire thing. But when you think of something that needs to be recharged, when you have something that has to be charged, it has to be charged by something, a different source, right? So, for example, my phone can connect, let me take this out, to this. This is something else plugging into it. The young people need people who are willing to plug into them. Right, so it is a. I'm sorry, I gotta plug my MacBook up. It is a yeah. Like this MacBook need to recharge. But it is a recharge, right? And so yeah, it was just a space for youth to come together, talk, and have their voices shared. And that specific episode and the way we do things, since it is called Youth Recharge Chronicles, we often do things in a fashion to where we use analogy of chargers. So in that moment, the topic was, I believe it was called software updates, right? Speaking of, updating your life, moving forward, letting go of old things, old habits, people of that nature. And I had my brother, Minister TJ, right on there with me. And we just talked, and we talked about the iOS update, and we took it from there.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Youth do need a voice. Do need a platform. They have a voice already. They have things to say already. A lot to say. Let me add. They just need the platform and they need the ears to hear, to actually hear. Let me say that again. They need the ears to hear, to actually hear. I might get in trouble for saying this, but I've kind of I've been going to a faith leaders meeting in Ward 8 in DC monthly, very consistently for at least 2 years now. And I had got up in the middle of the faith leaders meeting, and I asked, and I said, when are we going to actually have young folks in the faith leaders meeting, and young folks active in our meeting? Like, we want to know how to solve these problems. We want to say what we can do to get them active. We want to say what we can do to cause young people to stop committing crimes. We want to say what we can do to get young people to go to school more consistently, or all these other things that we feel like we have the solutions to. And we feel like we have those solutions without even asking the youth for their input. Like, how do we know all these solutions and we're not even talking to the young people who the solutions are for? It just makes no sense to me. So I definitely applaud what you're doing and your podcast, because, man, youth need that voice, man. They need that platform.
Of course, and I even want to just jump, because jump to this part where you spoke to the faith leaders spaces. When you look back, and I'm gonna take it back since I'm here at Morehouse College, the prestigious where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Was an alumni at. When you look back at the civil rights movement, a lot of those faith leaders we honor today, they were young.
Yes.
Dr. Martin Luther King was in his 20s leading the movements, organizing, preaching. He wasn't told to wait his turn, but he was trusted with responsibility. And it wasn't just him, but there were young organizers, young thinkers, young voices all throughout that movement. And the church, watch this, was the church, they didn't have to go and beg for a space. They didn't have to go, the church made space for them. So when we say we want change, but we don't create room for young people to lead, to speak, to be present, we're stepping away from the very model that built the impact we celebrate. And I say that with much respect, because our elders have built so much for us wholeheartedly. But now it is about partnership. And not only is it about partnership, but now it's about being willing to pass the torch, because now it's not just leading for us, but now it is leading with us. The same church that raised leaders then has to be willing to make room for leaders now. Because the king isn't waiting to be born. They're waiting to be heard.
I had to take a sip off that, bro. But that was important to point out, that many people, especially our young people, they don't know or they don't really think about it, is that Dr. King was in his 20s, you know, and when you look at our youth, I remember even I read a book called Revival Praying or something like that. But it was talking about how the greatest revival preachers all started the great revivals while they were young. And a lot of times they actually ended up leaving this world in their 30s by the time they were done, because their body was just so worn down from traveling back and forth, preaching the gospel throughout their 20s and 30s. And so it's like we look at these things and we say, yeah, you know, we need somebody like this, we need somebody like that. It was young folks. It was young folks. We just got to give them that opportunity to be that somebody. You know, we have to. We got to get out the way. We got to get out of our own way and set the way for the next generation. You know, I have a hard time saying this, but the next generation, you know. You know, I for a long time I was that next generation. And so you know, I remember somebody came to me not too long ago, and they said, we need a youth pastor. And I said, you know, I don't know if that's my calling right now. I had to pray about it. And he said, no, not you. You too old to be youth pastor. I was just letting you know in case you knew somebody. I was like, oh, okay. You know, the reality is setting in that, you know, I'm not that next generation anymore. Well, we got folks like you who, like you say, we can do things like use this platform of the People's Voice to give folks like you that voice, that platform for their voice to be heard. That platform for you to be able to grow your brand, that platform for you to be able to inspire other youth. And we just got to keep on doing these things to help our youth come along, because they don't only have a lot to say, they have a lot to offer. They have a lot to offer. I personally don't think that the George Floyd movement would have even happened without the boldness of our young folks. They were bold, and sometimes some would say they overstepped at times. Listen, whatever you want to call it, if we didn't have that kind of boldness that inspired that George Floyd movement, I personally don't believe it would have ever happened. It wouldn't have happened by us, you know, doing the usual, everybody meet down DC and march in front of the White House. That wasn't going to do it. It took young folks to say, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. And they went out on them streets as soon as they saw what happened, as soon as they heard what happened, and they protested. That is the kind of action that we need. And those are the kinds of voices that we need to open up the doors for. So we're great in, but we're going to talk about one more topic, which is one of my favorites. We're going to get into politics right after this.
Yo, DC Youth, it's been a minute, but I'm back. And listen, a lot of times we see campaigns and automatically think politics and that it has nothing to do with us. But the truth of the reality is, campaigns are one of the best places for us as young people to get involved, learn, and build connections. When you volunteer on a campaign, you're not just knocking on doors or making phone calls. You're learning how decisions are made in the city that affects your schools, your neighborhoods, and your future. You literally have the opportunity to gain real experience and hands-on learning from meeting organizers, seeing how strategy works, how messaging works, how different movements are built. And especially for young people who are interested in government advocacy, communications, or policy, this is a hands-on real-world experience for you that most of y'all ain't gonna get in the classroom. But beyond the experience, you are able to have a voice. Too many decisions are made about young people without young people involved or in the room. It allows us to shape conversations evolving around jobs, economics, housing, education, public safety, and opportunities in our city. So, if you're a young person in DC, don't just sit up here and watch the election happen. Get a part of it, get engaged, volunteer, tap in, because the leaders of tomorrow and those that you see running, they ain't just elected. They decided to get involved when they was younger. I'm telling you, get involved today.
That was
That's what
made on
it's all
camera.
about, bro. That's
That was
what it's
made-
all about. Don't just sit up there and watch the election happening and now even add and complain afterwards. Get involved in the process, bro. Get involved. So, a lot of young people, they feel like, and not even just young people, like these people all ages, especially in our community, like it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I vote. Nobody is listening. Our vote don't count. All this stuff is controlled anyway by the families. And, it's no point in getting involved, man. What do you say to people like that after what you just said?
Once again, back to what you said, don't complain. Don't I mean, the feeling is real, right? And I don't want to really dismiss it, because a lot of people, I'm gonna be honest, they do feel unheard. And I'm not gonna lie, I got to a point to where, even transparent moment, as of now, I got to a point to where now I'm feeling as if, do my vote really count? Because with this new ranked choice voting going around that I didn't know anything about, really we had low education on it, but I learned and studied a little bit. But I felt as if, now with this ranked choice voting, do my vote count? Because here's the thing: if your person is dismissed, they gone. It's wiped away. So in reality, the vote that I got, the vote that I put, really didn't count. Like if they just wiped away, wiped out, right? So at the end of the day, the feeling is definitely there. But I always tell people, just because you feel as if your voice doesn't matter, doesn't mean it doesn't have power. Right? Because systems doesn't change overnight, but they also don't change if nobody shows up. And so everybody, voting is just one part of the issue, but involvement is something that is much bigger than just voting. It's volunteering, as I said, it's organizing, it's being in the rooms, it's building relationships, because a lot of decisions get influenced before people even get to the ballot. I'm gonna say it like that. So when young people say, oh, it don't matter, or my vote doesn't count, I really mainly challenge them. I want to know, have you gotten close enough to the process to see how it actually works? Like, because once you really get involved and you realize that there's more access than we think, you can't complain about systems that you don't even want to engage in. So then you complain, oh yeah, well, they should have raised DC cap or DC tag, and they should have did this, and the council should have a youth council or whatever. Did you vote? Because if you ain't involved, did you talk to council members? Did you advocate? Because if you're not involved, decisions will still be made, but it's gonna be made without you. They're not gonna care. Either or, it's gonna happen with or without you. That's why I want to create like a I'm trying to create a pipeline with young people, who are serious about politics and government, because over this summer before I transitioned to here in Atlanta, I got the opportunity. I held a 40-day mobilization initiative where for over the summer we took 40 days to host events. We talked to DC Council, we talked to the Attorney General. We was all across DC government literally, and advocating and saying, hey, this is what we need, because that was when the Navy Yard incident took place. That was when, and I received, since that was when I received a lot of phone calls, right, from USA Today, WES, all of them people like, Khalik, you're a young leader saying young people, da, 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 and you're saying young people need this and that. What do you say now? My response didn't change. They thought they was going to intimidate. My response didn't. This politics don't scare me, because as young people, we know what we're talking about. We just need, once again, people to actually listen. And then for my young people, we can't say we want change, but then when we're offered a seat at the table, we don't take the seat.
Mm-hmm.
So get involved, because at the end of the day, it's gonna keep on rolling. I forgot the song, but the song said, "One monkey don't stop no show." It's gonna keep on moving.
It's a good time for me to plug this in about our organization. Listen, you heard what the brother just said. We have here the rising voices of politics. People don't whisper, we rise. Dream big, fight hard, speak up. Listen, if you are a person who is interested in maybe one day running, if you are a person who may be interested in not necessarily running for office, but you have an agenda, you have an issue that you want to tackle and address, and you're like, look, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to go about doing this. I don't know how to go about starting a change for this. It might be something as small as, listen, they keep speeding down my street, and my child is outside playing, and I don't feel like she's safe. Can we get a speed bump? Can we get a stop sign? Listen, join us. Like, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you navigate through your journey, whether it's in the politics and you want to run for office, or it's just a change that you want in your community. Come on, join the Rising Voices. Visit us at www.risingvoicesdc.org. Do it now. Do it today. Don't forget. Okay. So yeah, man, listen, speaking of DC politics, how do you feel right now? It kind of feels like a micro version of the country a few years ago, where it was like two completely different sides are running for office. Like, the city is completely split, and it's like our leaders are Kenya McDuffie right now and Janice Lewis George, and they just feel like two totally different candidates, and it's like, where are you right now in our political landscape? Not just with mayor, but I mean, we're at a historical moment. We're about to have a new mayor. We're about to have new council members for the first time in a long time. Things are going to look different when we go to those meetings at the Wilson Building.
It's about to be totally different. And it is a pivotal moment as of now. And I'm not going to lie to you, it does feel like there are different directions, there are different visions, and people are trying to figure out what the future city possibly looks like. But for me, I try not to get too caught up in just personalities or sides. I look at the impact, who's actually showing up, who's actually listening, and who's actually creating change that people can feel in their everyday lifestyle, right? Because like you said, it's a transition period. Now, new leaders, new voices, new opportunities, and moments like this can either divide people, or they can reset things for the better. That's why I keep coming to involvement, especially for my young people. If we're not engaged, if we're not in the room, if we're not building relationships, we miss the opportunity to shape what comes next. So instead of me asking, who's winning, I think the better question is, how are we positioning ourselves to work with whoever is in office to move our community forward? Because at the end of the day, if they win, they win. And I'm not going to lie. Can I say what I want to say on here?
Oh, you can say what you want to say here.
Cool. Either candidate, I'm here. I'll stand up here. I'll stand here. That's just me personally. I'm because of course, good people, genuine cool people. But the way shown up, especially for Ward 8, which is where I'm from, even though I moved, of course, but either or Ward 8 is where the home is. I don't like it. I didn't like it. So as a result, like, yeah, I can say, like, but once again, either or, despite who wins or not, especially as young people, we got to still figure out how we're going to move forward. I'm going to say it like this. I didn't like Mia Bowser. I still don't like Mia Bowser because of what, some of the stuff she did, and some of how she moved in a way. But at the end of the day, as a young leader, who had to meet with her on some occasions here and there as a student representative, had to keep pushing and keep moving. Shake your hand, compromise sometimes. With what I like and what I want. I just, when you're young in politics, you see some things, especially from behind the scenes as well. You get to see the inside look, and it's a totally different world. And yeah, it's just overall how we finna move forward, how we gonna connect, how we gonna, my only thing that I want to ensure that there's direct access to you. If anybody get in office, I want to ensure that there's a possibility that young people, have a way of getting directly in line and in check with you, because I don't got time for you to ego us as youth. You too busy, and we the now generation, so you need to prioritize us. So yeah, I just hope it don't. I hope DC stays stable. Long live DC.
Long live DC. That's exactly how I feel. Being in the position to create change, being in a position to still be able to communicate with whichever leader we have is very, very important. So those are some great things that you talked about. I totally agree, and I hope our youth are listening or will listen, and something will take hold. Man, it's been an awesome show. We're about to close out, man. I always end the show with our guests having the final words. So, you close us out, whatever you wanted to say, we maybe didn't get a chance to hit on, whatever message you want to leave the people with, man. This is a safe space and this is a free space. So just say what you got to say, and you will be the last voice of the people's voice, DC.
Sure, man. I definitely want to say, first of all, I want to say I appreciate you for having me. This conversation was real, it was raw, it was authentic. And if I had to leave people, anything with the people, it would be, don't wait until you feel ready to start. Whether it is building your brand, whether it is getting involved within your community, whether it is stepping into leadership, start exactly where you are. I would say, start where you are with what you have, because a lot of us are waiting on permission, waiting on the perfect moment, waiting until everything aligns up, and that moment will never come. And your voice matters now, your ideas matter now, your presence in the room matters now, but none of it works if you don't show up. So whether it's creating content, whether it's launching something new, whether it's volunteering, whether it's putting yourself out there, take that step, because small steps turn into momentum, and ultimately momentum will turn into impact. You don't need more time, you just simply need more action. And I would just say tap in, stay consistent, and build something that can, here it is, build something that outlives you. And that's all I'll say. Bless you, sir.
All right, real quick. If you've ever yelled at your phone like, man, why nobody ever talks about this? Congratulations. This podcast is for you. Welcome to the People's Voice, DC, where the city finally gets the mic. And now, this ain't one of those podcasts where everybody sounds smart, but nobody actually saying anything. We talk real life, DC life. The kind of conversations you have after work, on the metro, or when the group chat gets serious out of nowhere. Yeah, we talk politics, but don't worry. Nobody yelling over each other. Nobody reading off cue cards. And definitely nobody pretending they got it all figured out. We're talking housing, money, schools, mental health, culture, faith, purpose, relationships. Basically all the stuff that actually affects your life. but somehow never gets explained right. This podcast is powered by Rising Voices of Politics and founded by Reverend Michael Campbell. But listen, you don't gotta be a politician, a preacher, or an expert in nothing to belong here. If you got opinion, questions, or just a story to tell, you already qualify. And the energy? Chill, honest, a little funny. Sometimes deep, sometimes light, but always real. Catch us live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and social media. Miss it? Cool. It drops the same night at risingvoicesdc.org, and you can listen anytime.